The morning air over Eastern Heights Academy was cool and trimmed with wealth. You could tell by the way the cars lined the circular drive, polished metal, humming quiet engines, parents in sunglasses, a kind of confidence that came with legacy. Naomi Brooks stepped out of the silver sedan like she'd done it before, yet everything in her felt new. 16 years old, slim, quiet, skin the color of deep roasted cocoa. Her mother had hugged her tight that morning, the kind of hug that carried both blessing and warning. "Remember, baby, you don't have to prove who you are, just let them see." The words stayed with her like music she didn't want to turn off. She pulled her backpack over her shoulder, straightened her navy blazer, and walked toward the front doors. Heads turned, they always did. Inside, the hallway carried that rich school smell, lemon polish, expensive perfume, paper that never ran out. Pictures of past valedictorians hung across the walls. Most of them looked the same. Naomi noticed. She didn't flinch. First period was English literature, room 204. Mr. Taylor, tall, light-skinned, maybe late 30s, voice like jazz on a Sunday, introduced her without fanfare. "Class, this is Naomi Brooks. She transferred from Dunbar Prep. Make her feel welcome." He smiled at her. She smiled back. That's when she heard it, a low laugh from the back row. Not loud, not yet, but sharp enough to find its mark. Chloe Harris sat with her crew, 3 girls with perfect hair, manicured nails, and eyes that assessed, not greeted. She whispered something, and the table broke into soft giggles. Naomi caught it, but pretended not to. She took a seat in the second row, unpacked her notebook, and opened her pen. The sound of her zipper closing felt louder than the laughter. Mr. Taylor began the lesson, something about "to kill a mockingbird," irony at its finest. But the whispering didn't stop. Chloe's voice carried that practiced sweetness, the kind that could cut glass if you listened too close. "Isn't she from that public zone school? I think my cousin said so." "Probably scholarship," another girl whispered. "Cute though, kinda basic." Naomi heard it all. She didn't react. Her mother had raised her in quiet rooms where people measured power in restraint, not reaction. Still, she felt the sting. When the bell rang, Naomi took her time packing up. Chloe lingered by the door. "Hey, new girls." Naomi looked up. "Yes. Cute shoes. My little sister had those in middle school." Her friends laughed. Naomi smiled slightly, that half smile you give when you're not sure if someone's joking or testing you. "Guess she had good taste," Naomi said quietly. Chloe blinked, surprised by the calm reply. Her smirk faltered for half a second before she rolled her eyes. "Whatever." They walked off, the sound of laughter echoing down the hall like a trail of arrogance. Naomi stood alone, adjusting the strap of her backpack. She looked at the quote above the classroom door, "Character is what you do when no one is watching." She whispered to herself, "They're always watching, though." Lunch period. The cafeteria at Eastern Heights looked more like a boutique food court, flat screens, sushi bar, juice station. Naomi moved through the line quietly, her tray balanced steady. She spotted an open seat by the window, away from the crowd. Peaceful. But peace never lasts long in rooms built on hierarchy. Chloe's group took the table beside hers. Naomi could feel the eyes, the sideways glances, the smirks. One of them pulled out a phone. "Smile, new girl," she said, snapping a photo without asking. The flash went off. Naomi froze. "What's that for?" "Relax," Chloe said. "Just a welcome post. We like to introduce new students to the school page." Naomi said nothing. She finished her meal slowly, each bite measured, each breath heavier than the last. That evening, when she got home, her phone buzzed with a notification. She opened Snapchat. There it was, a post from someone named at Chloe H. A picture of Naomi mid-bite, eyes half closed, captioned, "New scholarship girl, enjoying her free meal nail polish welcome to Easton. Her chest tightened. She felt her ears heat up, shame creeping in through her veins like static. She closed the app, set her phone face down, and sat in silence. Her mom called from the kitchen. "Everything okay, baby?" Naomi took a breath. "Yeah, just tired." "You ate?" "Yeah." "Good, remember, quiet doesn't mean weak." Naomi nodded, even though her mother couldn't see her. Outside, the evening wind brushed the window screen. Inside, Naomi decided something. She wouldn't react. Not yet. She'd let time work, let truth breathe. Because truth always finds air, even in silence. The next morning came bright and deceptive, sunshine spilling over Eastern Heights like it could wash away cruelty. Naomi walked the hall like nothing happened. The whispers had multiplied overnight. Screenshots spread faster than apology ever could. Scholarship girl. Free lunch. Public school princess. Each phrase landed like a pebble in her shoe, small, but impossible to ignore. At her locker, she found a sticky note. Smile for the next post, winking face. She removed it carefully, folded it, and placed it in her notebook, as if saving evidence for something larger. Inside English class, Mr. Taylor noticed the silence. The usual buzz of conversation was missing, replaced by the low hum of phone screens and eyes avoiding contact. He looked at Naomi, then at Chloe's corner. Something in his jaw tightened, but he said nothing. "All right, class," he began. "Today we'll discuss empathy, the ability to feel what someone else feels." The room stayed quiet. "Anyone wanna share an example?" No hands went up. Naomi's pen moved across her notebook. One word, respect. Mr. Taylor's eyes met hers. He gave a subtle nod. When the bell rang, he called out, "Naomi, can I see you for a second?" She walked up, careful not to meet Chloe's smirk on the way out. "You okay?" he asked quietly. "I'm fine. I've been a teacher a long time. I can tell when a student's being targeted, if you need to talk." "Thank you, Mr. Taylor, really, but I got it." He studied her face, calm, unreadable. "You sure?" "Yes, sir, my mom taught me something. She said, you don't chase storms, you let them pass." He smiled softly. "Wise woman." Naomi nodded and walked out. As she moved through the corridor, the laughter rose again, faint but familiar. She didn't look back. Not once. Because the storm was already shifting, even if they didn't know it yet. That evening, a notice went up on the school bulletin. Special Assembly, tomorrow, 10 a.m., Eastern Heights announces new corporate partnership with Brooks Education Foundation. Students walked past the poster without thinking. But Naomi saw it. She stopped. Her breath caught, then released in the smallest smile. "Let them laugh today," she whispered. "Tomorrow will speak louder." The next morning, the halls of Eastern Heights buzzed like bees before a storm. News of the upcoming Special Assembly was spreading, but only in the background of louder gossip. The real talk still centered around Naomi Brooks. "Yo, you see that post? She really said she's fine, like, that didn't go viral. Her mama must be embarrassed." Laughter again, small, cutting, cowardly laughter. Naomi walked through it like smoke. Her uniform crisp, her curls neat, her eyes calm, that kind of calm that made people wonder if she knew something they didn't. Chloe leaned against her locker with her friends, holding her phone like a weapon. "Oh, look who it is. Smile, Naomi, maybe this one'll trend harder." Naomi opened her locker without looking up. "Good morning, Chloe." "Good morning," Chloe laughed. "You really think we're friends?" "Didn't say that," Naomi replied softly. "Just think everyone deserves one." The other girls looked at each other, uncertain if they should laugh again or not. There was something unsettling about Naomi's calm, something that made the air heavier than usual. Chloe rolled her eyes. Whatever, enjoy your assembly. They're probably adding another scholarship so people like you can eat free. Naomi closed her locker gently. Or maybe they're adding something else, she said. Like what? Respect. The word hit the hallway like a quiet echo, not loud, but deep enough to leave a mark. Naomi walked away, leaving silence behind her. The day dragged until 10 a.m. Then, one by one, students filed into the auditorium, a wide, gleaming room lined with banners that said excellence, leadership, legacy. Naomi sat toward the middle, hands folded, eyes steady on the stage. Mr. Taylor stood near the back, watching the students settle in. The principal, Mr. Lawson, walked up to the podium, his suit sharp, his tone serious. Good morning, Eastern Heights. Today's assembly marks a proud step in our school's future. He paused for effect, adjusting the microphone. As of this week, Eastern Heights is now officially partnered with the Brooks Education Foundation, an organization dedicated to improving learning opportunities across the state. Whispers rippled through the crowd. The name Brooks caught a few ears, but not enough minds yet. We are honored to welcome the Foundation's founder and CEO, Dr. Renee Brooks, to our campus this morning. The double doors at the side of the auditorium opened. A tall, elegant black woman stepped in dark navy suit, calm stride, confidence that filled the room before she even spoke. Naomi's heartbeat quickened, but her expression didn't move. Whispers turned to murmurs, murmurs into shock. Wait, that's Brooks. Isn't that? Yo, that's her last name too. Chloe's laughter died in her throat. Mr. Lawson continued. Dr. Brooks and her foundation will be sponsoring new technology labs, community scholarships, and our next leadership summit. The applause began slowly, uncertain, nervous, then filled the room as cameras flashed. Dr. Brooks smiled, then stepped to the podium. Her voice was warm, but carried weight. Thank you, Principal Lawson. It's a blessing to stand in a school that believes in legacy, because legacy only matters when it uplifts everyone, not just a few. Her eyes scanned the crowd briefly, calm, patient, intentional, and for a split second they met Naomi's. Naomi gave a small nod. Her mother returned it. Every student here deserves dignity, Dr. Brooks said, and sometimes the quietest voices carry the loudest lessons. The line hung in the air like scripture. Mr. Taylor folded his arms, a knowing smile creeping across his face. In the corner, Chloe sank slightly in her seat. Her phone, her power, now felt heavy, useless. And to our new students, Dr. Brooks continued, remember, you don't need to prove your worth to anyone, just stand in it. The crowd clapped again, louder this time. Even those who had laughed yesterday now clapped like they'd never said a word. Naomi didn't move. She sat still, absorbing every sound, every flicker of realization washing through the room. Because this was the moment she'd waited for. Not revenge, not payback, just truth. And truth didn't need an introduction. It only needed a moment. After the assembly, students poured back into the halls, buzzing with new energy. Naomi felt the shift before she heard it, how footsteps slowed when she passed, how eyes avoided hers not out of mockery but guilt. At her locker, Chloe stood waiting. For once, she looked unsure. Hey, she said quietly. Naomi didn't answer right away. She adjusted her books, then looked at her. Hey, so your mom? Yeah. I didn't know. You weren't supposed to, Naomi said calmly. You were supposed to know me first. Chloe nodded, eyes low. Look, Naomi raised a hand gently. It's fine, just do better for the next person. And that was it, no lecture, no revenge. Just grace. Naomi closed her locker, walked past the crowd, and out into the sunlight. The same sunlight that had felt heavy on her skin 2 days ago now felt warm again, earned. Her phone buzzed, a message from her mom. "Proud of you, you stood tall." Naomi smiled, slipping the phone into her pocket. "Didn't have to raise my voice," she whispered, "just had to wait for the truth to speak." The morning after the assembly, Eastern Heights Academy felt different. Not louder, not busier, just aware. Whispers that used to follow Naomi Brooks like shadows had thinned into silence. The air held that awkward politeness people use when they're trying to undo guilt with courtesy. Naomi noticed it the moment she stepped through the front gates. Students held doors open now. Teachers smiled a little longer. Even the security guard nodded with a kind of respect that wasn't there before. But Naomi didn't bask in it. She walked steady, her posture straight, her gaze calm. Because this kind of silence, the one that follows shame, wasn't victory. It was learning. And she had no intention of interrupting that. Inside English class, the morning light poured through the blinds like melted gold. Mr. Taylor was writing on the board, "Integrity, doing right when it costs you something." He turned, saw Naomi take her seat. "Morning, Ms. Brooks." "Morning, sir." Chloe and her friends sat in the back, quieter than usual. Phones stayed tucked away, eyes kept down. Even laughter, the old kind that used to ripple through the room, seemed out of tune now. Mr. Taylor began his lecture. He spoke about how truth sometimes lives in silence, how restraint itself can be power. "Sometimes," he said, "you don't need to swing back to win, you just have to stay standing." The class was still. And though he never said her name, everyone knew who he was talking about. At lunch, Naomi sat at her usual spot, by the window, tray neat, notebook beside her. The view overlooked the courtyard where students gathered in small clusters, pretending to scroll while peeking in her direction. She took slow bites, pretending not to notice. But she felt their eyes, not in ridicule this time, but in curiosity. Jordan, a quiet student from her math class, approached, his backpack half-zipped, sneakers squeaking faintly. "Hey," he said, voice careful, "mind if I sit here?" Naomi gestured to the empty seat. "Sure." They ate in silence for a while. Then he said, "That post they made about you, it wasn't right." Naomi looked up, her expression calm but curious. "You saw it?" "Yeah, I saw a lot of it. I also saw what they said after the assembly. They feel stupid now." "Maybe," Naomi said, "but that's not the point." "What's the point then?" She stirred her drink slowly. "People learn slower when you yell, faster when you let the truth sit with them." Jordan nodded, thoughtful. "Still, that took guts." "It took silence," she said, "and a little faith." He smiled. "That's harder." "Yeah," she said softly, "but it lasts longer." Later that afternoon, the hallway bulletin displayed a new poster. "Student Voices, Leadership Summit applications now open, sponsored by Brooks Education Foundation." Students whispered, "That's her family foundation." But Naomi didn't look up when she walked past. She wasn't trying to be seen anymore. She was letting her quiet presence do the work. That evening, Naomi sat in her room, light from her desk lamp spilling across papers and half-finished essays. Her mother stood in the doorway, leaning gently against the frame. "You held yourself well today," Dr. Brooks said. Naomi looked up from her homework. "I didn't say much." "You didn't have to." Her mother stepped in, her voice calm but proud. "You know what silence does, Naomi?" "What?" "It makes people listen harder. It's the sound of confidence." Naomi smiled faintly. "I don't always feel confident." "You don't have to feel it to walk in it." Dr. Brooks reached out, brushed a stray curl from her daughter's face. Some people fight with words, some with fists. You fight with grace. Don't ever lose that. Naomi nodded, quietly moved. I just wanted them to stop laughing. They will, her mother said softly, but more importantly, they'll remember. The next morning, Eastern Heights buzzed with new energy. Announcements over the intercom mentioned the Leadership Summit again, the one funded by Naomi's mother's foundation. We'll be selecting 2 students to represent Eastern Heights this year, Principal Lawson's voice echoed. Applications close Friday. The hall filled with murmurs. Naomi caught a few whispers. She's definitely getting picked. Well, yeah, her mom's literally the sponsor. But she ignored them. She didn't want to be chosen for pity or privilege. She wanted to earn it. After class, she found Mr. Taylor at his desk grading papers. Can I ask something? Of course. If I apply for the summit, will people think I only got in because of my mom? He looked up, thoughtful. Some might, but that's not your burden. Let your work speak louder than their doubts. Naomi hesitated, then nodded. Okay. You know, he said, leaning back, there's something about how you handle yourself. Most people shout to be heard. You let silence do the talking. I learned from watching her, Naomi said quietly. Your mum? No, she smiled faintly. People who underestimated her. Mr. Taylor chuckled, impressed. Keep that energy, it's rare. Naomi thanked him and left. Outside, the sound of laughter drifted from down the hall, not cruel this time, just normal. But even that sound made her think of how quickly things could shift. That afternoon, the rain came without warning, soft at first, then heavy, drumming the school's glass walls like a slow heartbeat. Students huddled under awnings, phones glowing in their hands. Naomi walked alone across the courtyard, rain slicking her blazer, hair damp but undisturbed. She didn't rush, she never did. Chloe saw her from across the walkway, a small moment, a chance meeting neither planned. For a long second, both stood still in the silver rain, the world muted around them. Chloe broke first. You're gonna catch a cold. Naomi gave a faint smile. I'm fine. Look, Naomi, about before. You don't have to explain. I do, Chloe said, her voice uneven. I was. Wrongs, Naomi finished quietly. Yeah, but you're learning. Chloe's eyes flickered, guilt, maybe relief. I guess I am. Good, Naomi said. Then maybe we both got something out of it. The bell rang, sharp and distant. Naomi turned to go, rainwater tracing down her sleeve. Chloe called after her. You ever think about running for student leadership? You'd be good. Naomi didn't stop walking. I'm already leading, she said softly. By the time the final bell rang, the rain had eased into mist. The hallways gleamed under the fluorescent light, reflections of tired faces and worn sneakers sliding across the polished floor. Naomi went to the library, her refuge. The scent of paper and quiet there felt like home. She found an empty corner, opened her notebook, and began to write. Not an essay, not homework, just thoughts. Silence isn't emptiness, it's space for people to see themselves. They laughed because they didn't know who I was. But now they see. Not my mom's name. Me. She closed the notebook gently. At the next table, 2 freshmen were whispering. That's her, one said softly, the girl from the video. She's like famous now. Naomi smiled faintly but didn't turn around. She didn't need fame. She needed peace. As weeks passed, the noise faded. The cruel laughter became polite greetings. And the girl who once sat alone now found herself surrounded, not by fans, but by quiet respect. Even Chloe changed in small ways. She started sitting closer to Naomi in English, asked real questions instead of making jokes. When Naomi's essay on empathy was read aloud by Mr. Taylor, Chloe was the first to clap. And though Naomi never said it aloud, she felt something lift, not forgiveness exactly, but closure. One day, during a school leadership meeting, Mr. Lawson announced, "We have selected 2 representatives for the Brooks Leadership Summit." The auditorium held its breath. First, our senior delegate, Chloe Harris. Applause filled the room. Chloe looked shocked. She glanced at Naomi, uncertain, but Naomi smiled and clapped for her. And our sophomore delegate, Naomi Brooks. The crowd erupted again, this time genuine. Naomi stood, nodded, and accepted the recognition with quiet grace. No speech, no fanfare. Just a small smile that said thank you without words. As she sat, Mr. Lawson added, "These students have shown that leadership isn't about volume, it's about vision, integrity, and growth." Naomi looked down at her folded hands, her heart calm. For once, she didn't feel like the new girl. She just felt seen, for the right reasons. That evening, at home, her mother waited on the porch. The sun was setting behind her, painting the neighborhood gold. "Heard the news," Dr. Brooks said, smiling. "You made the summit." "So did Chloe." "That surprises you." "A little." Her mother nodded. Sometimes the best thing you can do for people who hurt you is show them what growth looks like. Naomi leaned against the porch railing, eyes on the horizon. "Feels weird," she admitted, "like I didn't do anything, I just stayed quiet." And that, her mother said gently, was everything. That night, Naomi lay in bed, the house still, the hum of the city faint through her window. She thought about everything that had happened, the laughter, the photo, the assembly, the rain. She replayed it all like a film, but softer now, like background music. Her phone buzzed, a message. From Chloe. "Thanks for not hatting me, you taught me something." Naomi typed back slowly. "We all got lessons, some just take longer to learn." She turned off her phone, exhaled, and let the silence settle around her again. Because that silence, the one that used to feel like isolation, now sounded like peace. Some people think strength is about how loud you can be. But real strength, it's quiet. It's the kind that lets you stand steady when they laugh, and still stand steady when they stop. Naomi didn't win through revenge, she won through presence. And sometimes, that's all the world needs to see. The weeks rolled into early spring, and Eastern Heights Academy looked reborn. The air smelled of fresh paint and new beginnings. A banner stretched across the main building. BROKS Education Foundation, building MINDS, building character. To most, it was just another slogan. But for those who knew, for those who had laughed and whispered, the name carried a quiet weight. Naomi walked the hallway each morning with that same calm stride, but now her silence no longer made people uncomfortable. It made them pay attention. Teachers noticed her leadership in class. Students sought her opinion in group projects. Even the principal began asking for her input on student initiatives. And yet, Naomi never flaunted it. She stayed the same, listening more than she spoke, writing more than she bragged. The laughter that once followed her now had turned into something else entirely, a kind of respect that lived in people's posture when she entered a room. After-school meeting, leadership summit preparation. The school's library had been transformed into a workspace filled with laptops, design boards, and quiet conversations. Naomi and Chloe sat side by side, something no one would have predicted 2 months ago. Chloe glanced at her, hesitant. "I still can't believe we're doing this together." Naomi smiled faintly. "Guess life has a sense of humor. Ain't that the truth?" They shared a short laugh, awkward but real. Chloe turned serious again. "You know, when I saw your mom walk into that assembly, I thought my heart was gonna stop. You and everyone else, Naomi said lightly. Yeah, but it wasn't just that. I realized how wrong I was. Like, I spent so much time trying to make people look smaller so I could feel bigger. Naomi looked at her, quiet but attentive. You don't gotta explain it to me, Chloe, just learn from it. I promise. Good, then you're already doing better than most. For a second, Chloe's eyes glistened, like maybe tears were thinking about showing up, but she blinked them away and the two turned back to work. School courtyard, next day. Jordan, the quiet classmate, approached Naomi with his phone in hand. Hey Naomi, can I show you something? Sure. He played a video, grainy at first, but familiar. It was the old cafeteria clip, the one Chloe had posted weeks ago. Only now someone had reposted it with a new caption. The girl they mocked is now leading the school. The comments flooded beneath it. She handled that with class. This is how you carry yourself. Respect. Naomi's face didn't change much, but her chest tightened. It wasn't pride exactly, it was gratitude. Who posted it? She asked. I did, Jordan said. Hope that's okay, I just thought people should see the full circle. She looked at him, a smile flickering like candlelight. Yeah, it's okay, thanks, Jordan. You deserve it. The assembly hall, 2 weeks later. The Brooks Leadership Summit had finally arrived. Students from across the district gathered inside the same auditorium where Naomi's story had quietly changed everything. Naomi sat on stage beside Chloe, Principal Lawson, and Dr. Brooks. The air was thick with pride and polished nerves. Dr. Brooks spoke first, her tone composed and powerful. When we invest in young minds, we invest in the future, but we must also invest in empathy because intelligence without compassion is just noise. The audience murmured in agreement. Naomi listened, each word etching itself into her heart. Then the principal stepped up. This year, our own students will lead a presentation on unity and growth, 2 young women who remind us that leadership doesn't always start loud. He looked toward Naomi and Chloe. Sometimes it starts with silence. Applause filled the room. Naomi took the microphone slowly. She wasn't used to public speaking, but something about that moment felt inevitable, like it had been waiting for her all along. Good morning, she began, her voice low but steady. A few months ago, I walked into this school and thought silence meant weakness, but I learned something different. Sometimes silence is strength because it gives you space to listen. And when you listen, you learn what really matters. She paused. You could hear the faint hum of the air conditioner. I didn't come here to impress anyone. I just came to learn. And in the process, I realized the way we treat people says more about us than it ever will about them. Chloe nodded beside her, eyes glassy. We all have lessons to learn, Naomi continued. Mine was patience. Maybe someone else's is humility. Either way, we grow. Applause again, this time louder, warmer, real. Dr. Brooks watched her daughter from the front row, her hands clasped, proud and silent. After the assembly, the hallways buzzed again, but this time it wasn't with gossip. It was admiration. Students came up to Naomi, shaking her hand, thanking her for her words. Even the teachers smiled like they were seeing her for the first time, not as a new student, not as someone's daughter, but as herself. That evening, as sunset poured through the windows of the Brooks home, Naomi sat on the porch steps. Her notebook lay open on her lap, pages fluttering in the light wind. Her mother joined her with 2 mugs of tea. You were brilliant today. I was nervous. Didn't show. Naomi smiled softly. Mom, can I ask something? Anything. Do people ever really change? Dr. Brooks sipped her tea before answering. People grow when they're shown what growth looks like. You did that today. You didn't fight back, you rose up. And rising up shows others how to reach higher too. Naomi nodded slowly, looking out over the yard, where the porch light caught the last of the daylight. I didn't think this would feel so peaceful, she said. That's what grace feels like, her mother replied. It doesn't shout, it just settles. There's a moment in every story where truth doesn't just reveal, it transforms. At Eastern Heights, that moment came quietly. No fights, no shouting matches, just a young woman standing tall while the world around her learned what dignity looks like. Some people think justice is about punishment. But sometimes, justice is simply truth, seen in full daylight. For the first time in months, the halls of Eastern Heights carried more light than noise. It wasn't the kind of light you could see, it was the kind you could feel. That soft brightness that comes when people begin to understand something they didn't before. Naomi walked those halls every day now, the same as she always had. Head high, books in hand, headphones slung around her neck. But the difference was in how the world around her moved. When she passed, students didn't turn away, they nodded, smiled, stepped aside. The same faces that once smirked now showed quiet respect, the kind that didn't need words. Cafeteria, 2 weeks later. The lunchroom felt different too. No more snickering phones, no hidden cameras, just conversation, real conversation. Naomi sat with Jordan, Chloe, and a few others, going over ideas for their summit project. On the table were sketches, notes, and a poster that read Voices of Respect. So, Chloe said, twirling her pen, what if we make it like a story wall? Everyone writes something they've learned this year about treating people right. Naomi nodded. I like that. Keep it personal, not polished. People open up more when it's real. Jordan added, we can hang it in the main hallway. Let it stay there all semester. Chloe looked at Naomi and smiled. You cool with that? Yeah, Naomi said softly. I think the hallway's seen enough noise. Time it hears truth instead. The table fell quiet for a second, a comfortable quiet. Then Chloe chuckled. You always got a quote ready. Guess I've been learning from Mr. Taylor, Naomi said, smiling. The group laughed, genuine this time. Not sharp, not cruel, just light. Later that afternoon, Naomi found herself called to the principal's office. For a brief moment, her heart raced, old instincts. But Principal Lawson greeted her with a smile. Relax, Ms. Brooks, this isn't disciplinary. That's good to know, she said, sitting down carefully. I just wanted to say thank you. You've changed this school's tone in ways you probably don't even realize. I just wanted things to be fair, she said. Fair is a start, he replied, but what you created here, that's something better. You gave us reflection. He leaned forward. Your foundation's partnership built the labs, sure, but your attitude built something more important, accountability. Naomi didn't know what to say. So she just smiled. Thank you, sir. And thank your mother, he added with a small grin. She's got a remarkable daughter. Evening. The house was quiet except for the hum of the dishwasher and the slow rhythm of rain tapping the windows. Naomi sat cross-legged on her bed, scrolling through her phone. She saw a new video, one of her speech from the summit. It wasn't viral yet, but the comments were starting. That girl spoke truth. Silence never sounded so strong. Her mom must be proud. She read each one slowly, smiling at none, but feeling every word. Then she noticed one username she didn't expect. At Chloe H., the same account that had once mocked her. The comment read, You taught me what respect really means, thank you. Naomi exhaled softly, the sound mixing with the rain. Full circle, she whispered. The next morning, something unusual happened. At the entrance of the school, just beyond the trophy case, hung a new display. A large poster board filled with colorful sticky notes, each signed with a student's name. Across the top, in hand-painted letters, it read. Voices of respect, what we've learned. Naomi stopped to read a few. Silence can be powerful, Jordan. Don't laugh at what you don't understand, Chloe. Dignity looks good on everyone, Mr. Taylor. I used to scroll, now I listen, anonymous. She stood there for a long moment, her hand resting against the edge of the board, her heart full and still. Behind her, other students slowed down to read too. Some wrote new notes. Some just stood in silence. No one laughed. Not anymore. Later that day, Chloe found her by the lockers again. Hey, she said quietly, you see the wall? Yeah, it's beautiful. You did that. Naomi shook her head. No, we did that. You know, Chloe said, if someone had told me I'd be friends with you 2 months ago, I'd have laughed. You'd have laughed at a lot of things, Naomi teased softly. Chloe grinned. Yeah, guess I'm glad I learned to shut up. They both laughed, this time together. In every place built on pride, there comes a moment when truth rearranges the furniture. That's what happened here. A room once filled with whispers found peace. A hallway that once echoed with laughter, now echoed with understanding. And the girl they mocked, she never shouted, never fought back. She just kept standing until silence turned into respect. 3 days after the Voices of Respect wall went up, Eastern Heights found itself trending. Not for scandal, for change. A local reporter had come to cover the summit, but what caught her attention wasn't the event, it was Naomi Brooks. A clip of her speech, paired with her quiet smile and a line that read, "Respect isn't given by fear, it's built by understanding," began spreading across social media. Within a day, it reached the morning news. Within 2, it reached her father. The screen showed Naomi speaking, the wall of notes behind her, the headline running below. Teen inspires change at Eastern Heights, lessons on dignity after bullying scandal. Vin Diesel watched silently, his jaw tight but his eyes soft. Beside him, her mother placed a hand over his. You see, she whispered, she didn't need protection, she needed a chance to be heard. He nodded. She got that from you, he said quietly, but I think it's time the world knows who she really is. Friday morning, the principal called an assembly. Every student filled the auditorium, their voices low, uncertain. Naomi sat in the front row, Chloe and Jordan beside her. The principal's voice carried through the hall. We've all witnessed something powerful this month, he said. And today, we close this chapter not with punishment, but with recognition. He looked down at Naomi. For your resilience, grace, and leadership, the board has decided to award you the Eastern Medal of Integrity. Applause swelled, slow at first, then louder, fuller, honest. Naomi stood, her heart steady, her eyes soft. And then the doors opened. Vin Diesel walked in. The crowd gasped. Phones rose like lights in a concert hall. Naomi froze for half a breath, then smiled. Dad, she whispered. He opened his arms. You didn't think I'd miss this, did you? The applause turned to cheers. He pulled her close, voice low enough for only her to hear. I'm proud of you, you fought hate with patience, you stood taller than noise. Later, headlines rolled across the screen. From target to torchbearer, how one teen redefined respect. Clips of Naomi's speech filled news feeds. Commentators said, this wasn't revenge, this was renewal. At school, Chloe laughed as she scrolled through her phone. Naomi, people are calling you the quiet storm online. Naomi smiled, could be worse. You're famous. No, she said gently, I'm heard, there's a difference. Jordan nodded, classic Naomi quote. Chloe laughed, write it on the wall. They all smiled, not out of guilt this time, but peace. They had found a new rhythm. not of noise or cruelty, but of understanding. They called her names once, laughed at her silence, tried to define her worth in whispers. But in the end, the quiet girl didn't fight back with noise, she changed the meaning of it. The bully learned humility. The crowd learned empathy. And the world learned that strength doesn't need volume, just truth. When the noise faded, what remained was peace. Not the kind that comes from winning, but the kind that comes from understanding what really matters. Naomi walked through the empty halls one last time before graduation. Her shoes echoed softly against the tile, each step reminding her of the days when those same halls had carried whispers instead of greetings. The voices of respect wall still stood, now layered with new notes and brighter colors. Some messages were clumsy, some poetic, but every one of them carried truth. She traced her fingers across the edges of a few. One read: "Forgiveness doesn't erase what happened, it just frees what's left." She smiled, recognizing Chloe's handwriting. Mr. Taylor passed by, carrying a box of books. He stopped when he saw her. "Heading out, Ms. Brooks?" "Yeah, just saying goodbye." "To the building?" "To who I used to be in it." He nodded slowly. "You've grown taller in spirit than most do in a lifetime." She laughed softly. "I had good teachers." Outside, the sky stretched wide and blue. Her mother stood by the car, waiting with that familiar calm smile. Naomi took one last look at the school. The banners fluttering, the laughter drifting through the air like music instead of mockery. "You ready?" her mother asked. "Yeah," Naomi said quietly. "I think I've been ready for a while." As they drove away, Naomi looked out the window. Not back at what was lost, but ahead to what was waiting. She whispered, almost to herself, "Some battles aren't fought to win. They're fought to teach." And sometimes silence is the loudest victory. The sun dipped behind the trees, turning the world gold for just a moment, as if even the day itself was bowing in respect. Then her mother reached over, took her hand, and smiled. "You did good, baby. You stood tall." Naomi nodded. "Didn't have to raise my voice," she said softly. "Just had to let the truth speak." A pause, a breath, then her voice, gentle, steady, filled with wisdom far beyond her years. "If you've ever been doubted or dismissed, this story is yours too. Because some of the strongest voices the world will ever hear are the ones that never needed to shout."